Hello everybody, it's me, Hick. It's been a while since my last speaking video, and if I sound weird, it's because I kind of have a bit of a cough, which is unfortunate given the times. But today I have a bit here. So my last video was on the topic of me redesigning an old OC of mine. And so I figured, why not tell the old story? There's no current story. Not really. I'm not entirely sure where it's going. But I might as well talk about the horrors that once was. So, pretty much, I'll talk about the video on screen for just a moment. I try to digitally paint, which I'm using that term loosely because I have no idea how to digitally paint. But this was an attempt. It was just a for fun thing that I did in about an hour, I think. Pretty sure. I can look back on that maybe. Probably we'll forget to do that though. So that's her new name is Monday. Her old name was Hikarii with 2 eyes because it had to be more unique. Absolute cringe, but so now we will go into the story of Hikarii, and I will refer to her that as such because it's not the same if I just use the name Monday, which is probably a weird enough name already, but we're gonna go with it. So, for the creations of Hikarii, I believe I mentioned before that she was an old Beyblade OC, and I think I spoke a bit about Beyblade too. So basically, overall, I have notes. Let me get them. There it is. So, she was a Beyblade self-insert, but as I've mentioned, I'm terrible at making self-inserts and they just become their own character and are never anything like me. I've made a few close attempts, but then to the wind they go. So she was a Beyblade self-insert. This is of the Metal series, so the not quite the new one, because I know there's like Beyblade Burst. But before that, and she was created after Ryuga's death in this third part of the Metal series. I know there's a fourth part where they're all adults. We'll get to that. Ryuga's younger sister, for some reason, she didn't even look like him, as you can tell. And yeah, there was a weird part where after the first 3 seasons of the Metal series, I was like, wait, all the other characters are grown up now, and the newer characters are like not grown up. So I had this weird thing where magical BS and she's a kid again, and everyone was like, wow, that's weird, because it is. But I didn't really think of the implications of that, and I was like, yes, now she fits in with the new cast. I also did this to Beatamon. I don't know if there's an old one, but it's the newer one with like Riki and all that fun jazz. And I would ship her with different characters, like that one Triceratops dude from Beatamon, Pokemon, Ash Ketchum, and then, but the biggest ones were the series, Beyblade, and that one soccer anime, Inazuma 11, which I was obsessed with for the longest time. I do not know why. I don't even like soccer. But back to her story. So after the whole weird shipping thing, she had her own personal story, which was in a little world where I created, and I was like 10, 11, 12. That's kind of when it spanned. So 3 long years of just thinking and imagining what would happen in my head and going to bed and just closing my eyes and being like, we're going to start the daydream story again. It was not good. So basically, Hikarii was a magical child, and she was 14. I don't know how teenagers worked because I was like, 14? You're basically a grown-up. You're not. I think I mentioned this. So basically, in this world, she was not entirely human. I mean, in the Beyblade and all those other things, she still kept her cool, quirky powers. So, don't mind me, I'm just tapping. I need a stem sometimes. So she was 49% human. Why not 50? Because I had to be really specific with my numbers and wanted to cram in as much as possible. So she was 49% human, like 10% dragon. The 1%, I believe it was fairy. I think she might be part vampire, something else, and a bunch of other things. There were very specific numbers. There was a 10%, there was like a 20%. I was like, yes. Oh, there might have been an actual 0.5%. I don't know. And, also I should mention, she did have a mysterious twin sister who shows up one day. Her name was Mari. I've changed her name as well. Her new name is Alba. Maybe I'll make videos for the other characters, but this is just a summary of Hikari's. She's not even a Mary Sue. She's horrible. She's not even a good person. And a lot of people hated her guts and actions because she was a bad person. So, so she went to this magical okay, so there's a separate dimension that exists away. The base world was still the Beyblade world, but we didn't focus on Beyblade when we talked about her personal stories. So it was like Earth, and then a magical dimension where all these magical, cool people go. And in this magical dimension, there's this school where kids with magical powers, I think they had a specific name for these type of people, but I do not remember, where they learned to be like gods, kind of a certain aspect, and that's what their powers would be based off of. And so at this certain aspect, Hikari's god domain thing was goddess of darkness, and obviously her twin was goddess of light, because opposites. And they had a cousin named Ace, who she was, I don't know, goddess of victory? Should I check that? Honestly, nobody cares about Ace. I forgot she existed most of the time, and she was there for convenience, so whatever. And no, Ryuga, I didn't magically make Ryuga anything. He was just a human dude for some reason. And their parents were not like their parents. They weren't human at all. And they were like, one parent was like a demon, the other was an angel, and that's how it worked. I don't know how they got up, or maybe they were half demon, half angel, respectively, and they somehow gave birth to a dragon, human, fairy, angel thing. Her sister was not the same thing as her, despite being twins. She was 49% human, but then had different mixes, and I think she had like 5% fairy instead of 1%. It's complicated, and I think I wrote it down, but I can't find the paper. I might still have it. I hope I don't. That's cringe. So, in this magical world of school, both Hikarii and Mari would go to that school. And, yeah. And they made more enemies than friends. It was the weird thing where they would have enemies that would try to absolutely obliterate them and then become friends. But the thing is, this was still in the phase where there'd be dimension hopping, so Hikarii would still... Oh yeah, right, I didn't mention this. Her powers included allowing her to hop through dimensions, which is how she existed in all these different, official things like Pokemon and Nazma 11, all that stuff, all at once. And she had, like, a boyfriend per universe. And it'd be like, oh, since it's a different universe, it's technically not cheating, but it is. And she's like, well, whatever, they won't find out. But then there was a little weird thing that I did. I was like, what if they do? And then they did, and there were consequences. Sometimes. Well, one universe had consequences, because I only tested it out there. It was weird. Did I retcon it? I don't think I did. But it was not small, actually. So, the story is weird. It cycles through villains a lot. The first villain was named Crystal. Was it with a K? No, it's with a C. Crystal with a C. They all had nicknames. Hikari's was Demon Child. I think Mari was like Good Child. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Crystal was a Lizard Kid because she wore a lot of green. That was her color scheme. And liked lizards. I do not know. But she was her god domain was balance, and she hated them. Well, most specifically Hikarii. And then there was a whole thing where there was like a joint dream because I wanted to retcon something from my daydream. I was like, we're retconning this. It was all a dream, a shared dream. And through it, and then they became friends somehow. And I was like, Crystal was like, oh yeah, I'll join the school. Yay. And then she was the first villain, and then the second villain he didn't start off as well. He started as a friend. I think his name, cause was Sengu? Apparently, that's what I wrote. That might just be a placeholder name, because I couldn't remember what his name was. But, his domain was the sky. And, yeah, and he had a crush on Hikarii, but she didn't like him. And so he went evil. It's not a very... Which, I was 11 or 10, so I didn't see the problems with that. Well, I sort of did. I was like, this is really weird, but I'm gonna keep it. Because I need the drama as a 10-year-old. And so he was evil. He also... Fun fact, he really liked soccer, and he was on the soccer team. And I think she was promised to go watch a soccer game, and then she didn't, because she was busy, and then that's why he tried to kill her. Magical violence. It's fine. And, yeah, he sure did try, and then he failed. And I think he was like, I probably shouldn't be doing this, because this is really bad, and not nice. I'm trying not to curse. I curse a lot, but we're gonna work on that. And yeah. And then we had another villain. I'm pretty sure his name was Kyoto or Kirito. I don't know. Or maybe it was just some edgy name that was like, ooh, it means darkness in Japanese, blah, idiot. And yeah, he was the technical villain. He was like I don't remember what he was. I think he's a god of death. I didn't give him a new name. I did not give Sengu a new name. I give him a new nickname. Sengu's new nickname is 5. I do not know. Kyoto, let's just call him Kyoto, is still like a villain? Sort of, in the new quote-unquote story, whenever I figure that out. And I think I made him like a god of the earth or harvest. I don't even know if they're still technically gods still in this story. And then there's this weird thing where we would cycle through villains, where there'd be like a villain, and then like, oh no, there was a third guy. He was blue, and I think his domain was water, and there was like, oh, we gotta defeat him, and then they're like, oh, I'm actually under a mind control spell by somebody else, and then they would go find that person, and then it would turn out they're under a mind control spell. And at some point, there were two gods of balance, because this new dude was also a god of balance or equality, and he had like, the scale balance thing as his magical item. Not all of them had magical items or magical symbol or whatever. So maybe justice? I think maybe Crystal, I retconned Crystal to be specifically a god of balance, but only two dark and light, so Hikarii and Mari, which is very specific and kind of useless. But she could give the two power-ups occasionally. It is very convoluted system. I would add things from my personal preference, I guess. And you just like go through villains, and the real kicker was when I got really, really, really into Inazuma 11. It's kind of long, but whatever. So it was when I got really into Inazuma 11 when the canon characters from a show would merge into my little imaginary world, and there was a whole thing where I'm like, what if all the Inazuma 11 characters came into her little world and existed there for an indefinite amount of time? It was really weird, and there was a lot of weird shipping and stuff involved. I'm not really gonna go into that disaster, but at some point Hikarii did find a little alternate dimension, which was below the dimension where the school existed, and no one lived it. It was uninhabited. So Hikarii was like, I own this city now, and she built a little home. It was very big. It was like, I don't know, whatever I wanted, or conveniently. It was a very large house. And then they found out that there was somebody actually who lived there, and they were Satan. It was Satan, but as per usual, it wasn't Satan. And after fighting this dude a couple times, he rose up to the surface, which they were trying to prevent him from, to the surface being the place where the school is, tried to attack the school, and then failed and befriended Hikarii and the gang. And then turns out he's not Satan. That's his uncle. And then they found his uncle, and then it's like, actually, I think I stopped the daydream altogether after that. And so, we never found out who Satan... I never figured out who Satan was. It was his uncle, but knowing me, it was probably going to be like 70 other dudes, and we'd never find out who Satan was. This is already a long video, but I need to add in, Hikarii, there were some arcs to her story. From the school arc, where she made a lot of enemies and a lot of friends, there was a arc where she lost her memories and fell through a dimensional portal to an alternate reality to this desert kingdom that was ruled by a dictator, and she defeated the dictator, and then she became the dictator and ruled over the people with an iron fist, and then they banished her away, and she ended up in another random location, universe, where her friends found her from the school, and then they tried to get her memories back, and a bunch of other stuff happened. And then at some point they went back to that Kingdom Desert universe, and the people were like, oh, screw you, because you were a real bad dictator. Even worse than the last guy, somehow, despite being a 14-year-old child. She didn't seem to age. And I don't know how 14-year-olds worked, because I just thought, yeah, that's definitely what high schoolers did. Because I didn't realize that every high schooler on TV was secretly a 30-year-old man or woman. And so, there are some other characters in the story, but I think I'll go more into depth with them. In their own video, I'll probably do maybe a little illustration. Maybe I'll redesign them all. Because I have designs for the main ones, which are, well, there's Hikarii, who's now Monday. There's Mari, who's now Alba. Sengu, who still does not have a name. Kyoto, who still does not have a name. That's just a city in Japan, right? I'm not creative. Then there was two girls, Willow and Beatrice, who I low-key kind of shipped together. I didn't know. I was like, oh shit. Oh no. Whatever. I didn't. I was just like, yep. I didn't even know. I was like, yeah, they're together. They're girlfriends. That's just how it is. But they were best friends. But like, they were girlfriends. I was just like, yeah, that's it. Willow and Beatrice. Their domains. Willow had the domain of time, and Beatrice was the domain of space, and kind of batshit. I quit on not cursing. She's kind of crazy. And like, not in a mental illness kind of way. She was fully aware of what she was doing, and she's like, I think I will cause problems on purpose. And she did. She was never a villain. She just did not care. And honestly, we stan a queen. She was also called, her nickname was the Red Queen, because she did not care. But I'll make videos on them separately. I kind of have a redesign for each of them, but I might update them a little more. So, that's all for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.